I'm about to make you dangerously seductive. But here's the craziest part. It won't even require you to change your physical appearance at all. I know it sounds insane, but seduction is emotion and energy channeled in such a way that you cast a spell on people they don't even quite understand. But beware, this isn't basic advice like eye contact. With each of these 10 concepts that I'm gonna discuss with you, we're gonna go deeper into the psychology of seduction than you ever have before. By the end of this video, you'll be seducing strangers, your boss, your friends, even your family. So get ready to be more powerful than you ever thought humanly possible through the art of seduction. We're gonna start off with number one as peace, because nobody is gonna tell you about this. Nobody that teaches you seduction will remind you of what is the most important part of seduction: having the state of mind to seduce. It's very important that wherever you're gonna go, whether it's to a party, to an event, to the club, and you know you wanna bring your seductive energy to that event, wherever it is you're going, you wanna make sure that beforehand you take care of your mind and spirit so that you can be in that state. Now, what do I mean by that? For example, if you enjoy reading, running, taking a bath, these are the type of things that bring you joy, bring you peace, bring you relaxation, that whenever you do these things, you end up in a better mood afterwards, right? It could also be working out. It could also be listening to certain types of music. Maybe rap music puts you in that mode. You listen to Lotto and you feel like a bad bee. Maybe it's R&B that puts you in that mode. Maybe it's doing your skincare routine, and when you look yourself in the mirror, you see that glass skin glowing and you're like, oh my God, I'm that girl. Whatever it is for you, I want you to make sure on the day of that you're going to go out to that event, to that party, to that club, and you're going to be around people that you want to be seducing. I want you to make sure that you choose one or multiple of these things to do for yourself, so that when you head into that event, that party, that club, you bring that energy, the residual energy, happiness, peace of mind, that state of being that any of these activities put you in. At the very least, even if you can't do it that day, do it the night before. Because this state of mind where you're relaxed, where you're ready to meet people, where you're ready to talk to people, where you're ready to take on the challenge that is being seductive, because it is a challenge. It is a skill that you're building. We want to make sure that we take care of your state of mind, that you don't show up to that party, to that event, to that club in an anxious state. You don't show up frazzled. Have you ever left somewhere and you're like 20 minutes late, and then by the time you show up, you're like scrambling, and so you forgot stuff in the car, and then you're like sweating because you've been running there? And once you show up in the wrong state of mind, none of your seductive tips or understanding or knowledge will work how it should. So we want to make sure we take care of your state of mind first, to take care of your spirit, that you can then begin seducing. Now, my second point is going to be about learning your prey. And I know it sounds horrible, but this will change your life. I promise you. As a seducer, you need to practice the art. Anytime you walk into a room, begin scanning the room with your eyes and going back and forth, making sure you're able to see everyone at least once. And you need to find who your victims are going to be. Because as a seducer, it's so important to understand that certain people will be very, very primed to your seduction techniques, and certain people not so much. That's okay. But I want you to understand your seduction will be most effective when you find your prey and you make sure to target your prey. The same way hypnotism works, but hypnotism specifically works the best on people who are primed to be hypnotized. It's very important to understand what the prerequisites are of the people who are going to become your prey. What do I mean by prey? When you walk into a room and you go back and forth from front to back, you want to be making eye contact with people, making eye contact with everyone in the room, the ones that you're attracted to at least. And I want you to start seeing, what type of eye contact are they giving me back? What's their body language like throughout the night? Are they open, kind of moving their body towards me? Or do they seem closed off? Do they seem uninterested in me every time I walk past? Or am I noticing, right? This is where, when you become really seductive and you build this skill of learning your prey, you'll feel the presence and the energy of someone who's interested in you. And as you walk in the room, as soon as you start scanning, within the first 10, 15 minutes, you'll be able to instantly know that person's attracted to me. that person's attracted to me, that person's primed, that person's prey. And I mean prey in the sense that you know I can seduce that person. Because you understand when I walk past, I can feel their attention. I can feel their eyes. I can feel their energy being guided towards me, that they're ready to be seduced by me. This is a very important concept to understand and skill to build up over the course of time. When you walk into these rooms, understand not every single guy or girl that you meet is going to necessarily be ready to be seduced by you. We don't want you to waste a lot of your seductive energy on people who aren't primed to be seduced by you. Some of those people might be in relationships. They might be meeting their secret fling at that spot where you guys are already at. They might have other things on their mind, but there will be certain people that when they see you, immediately they're drawn to you. Immediately, they're drawn to your energy, your aura, that you're like a magnet. They almost kind of want to follow you. And you'll start noticing that as you go around the room, as you maneuver around the party or the event or wherever it is that you are, you'll notice they seem to be kind of shifting alongside with you. Their eyes is shifting alongside with you. Their attention is shifting in your direction. Somehow, some way, shape, or form throughout the night, they go from being all the way over there to making their way around you. And this is when you start to say to yourself, this person is primed. This person is prey. This person is perfect for me to work my seductive magic on. For number 3, we're going to talk about learning their story. I told you we're going to go very deep into psychology here. Every single person that you meet has a story. We call that kind of like their fingerprint, because each person's individual story, no matter who you are, even if they're twins, will be slightly different. And because their story is different, that story feels unique and special to them. So we're going to do 2 very important things with their story. So I want you paying very close attention to it. And I also, when you meet this person and you start having conversation with them, I want you to very quickly try and get it out of them. Okay? Get past the small talk. Get past the casual conversations that you would have when you first meet someone, and immediately start questioning them in ways that will get them to start telling you about their story. Where are they from? What have they been through? What is their family life like? I know for some of you, you're thinking, oh my God, would people really talk about that when they first meet me? Yes. If you're good at asking questions, if you're good at being inviting and warm in your energy that makes people feel comfortable talking to you, makes people feel like you are a trusting, worthy friend, that you can share these things with them. Now, obviously, you're not just going to have someone come up to you and immediately start asking them, hey, tell me your deepest, darkest secret. But you want to get into the habit of, as you talk to people, you can even say, oh, you know, I'm someone where I just really like deep conversations. I really hate shallow conversations. I love talking to people about deep things and their real desires and what they really want, because we spend so much time just lying to ourselves or being surface level, right? You can even say things like that to prime them for the fact that you like to get juicy, real information about the real human being, okay? This is good. The faster you can get their story and the more information you can get about their story, the better you will be able to utilize this for the 2 things that we're going to do. I'm not going to tell you yet. They're very important, but we're going to do 2 very important things with them. So let me give you an example of the type of information someone can give you in their story, right? They can essentially tell you some key pivotal things about themselves, right? And their fingerprint. I am adventurous. All my life, since I've been a child, I've loved adventure. I've loved going outdoors. I've loved camping. Some of the things that I wanted to experience as a child with the outdoors and being adventurous, I never got an opportunity to because my parents held me back or they didn't approve of these things. I remember going to summer camp as a kid and how much I enjoyed it. Trust me, you'll be shocked when you ask good questions how much information you can get out of someone in the first conversation, right? That they love animals, for example. And he can also, let's say you're talking to a guy, mention that he hasn't really been able to connect with anyone in the past 2 or 3 years that shares his same passion for being outdoors. And it's something that he's always struggled with because he's always been hoping to meet someone as adventurous and outdoorsy as he is. This is amazing. Now, as the seducer, as the seducer, you're going to use this story because remember, it's like his fingerprint to do something very, very magical. Now that you have this information, you know how to touch his soul. And as the seducer, being able to touch someone's soul is what's going to make it so impactful to meet you and make you so unforgettable that it's impossible for someone not to be seduced by you after you do this correctly. Okay, so for number 4, we're going to talk about repeating. This is amazing. I love this. I do this all the time. Okay. So when someone is telling you a story, remember, when they're telling you their story specifically, the one that's very unique to them, like their fingerprint, you're going to be actively listening. This includes eye contact, body language, which we're going to talk about in a little bit as well, and making sure that they know that you're paying very close attention and you're hanging on to every single word that they're saying to you. Okay. Now, as they're talking, you're going to pick key points of things that they mention to harpen back to. You're going to regurgitate this. I'm going to explain what that means, okay? Now, you're going to pick these key points as really important subjects to discuss later. Now, what I want you to do after you pick those key points, those key topics, like we talked about before, for example, him being adventurous, him being outdoorsy, him loving animals, right? Now you want to take this opportunity to regurgitate back to him the story that he's told you, but now I want you to compliment that person on their story. What does that look like? That looks like saying to someone who is really adventurous and outgoing and saying, wow, you're so brave for going out into the woods for 7 days and camping. Wow, it must have taken a lot of bravery. What did you use? What did you take with you? Did you ever get scared that you would see a bear or this and that? I've never met someone as adventurous as you. You're really outgoing. You have courage, man. I applaud you for being outgoing and for taking on challenges. There's not a lot of people that would ever even try that. You see how I'm not complimenting the person on their looks. I'm not complimenting the person on their muscles. I'm complimenting the person on their story. And this touches someone's soul because my story is unique to me. Remember, my story is like a fingerprint. So you're also showing me that you have actually been actively listening, but you're also doing something super amazing as a seducer. You're making me feel special. Okay? How many times in a conversation with another human being do you get an opportunity to truly feel special, to truly feel seen? If you think about it, right? We see or we read a lot of autobiographies of people, right? Famous people who have stories to tell because they're famous and people want to know their story. But how many of the other 99% of people who are just regular get an opportunity to tell their story and get an opportunity for someone to actually be interested in our own personal story? This is why I say getting someone quickly to tell you their story is part of seduction, because now when you can compliment that story, it's so much more touching. It's so much more memorable. It's so much more impactful. I feel like you're complimenting my soul. I feel like you're seeing me. I'm not talking about seeing with my eyes. I'm talking about seeing with my soul, right? And you're seeing me with your soul. And our souls are having like a soul hug. That's part of being a seducer, is understanding how to touch someone's soul, even through the aspect of complimenting their story and harpening back to their story, which just means being able to regurgitate the things that they told you about their story to show you that you're actively listening and that this story is important to you. Okay, so for point number 5, we're going to talk about the solution. We're getting even more tricky and psychological with your seduction here, okay? Now, this is very interesting. So I want to discuss this in detail. See, one of the really interesting things that you can do once you have someone's story, their fingerprint, okay, is you can now figure out how to take your own qualities, remember, you're seducing this person, and present them in a way where you become like the solution to their life problems. But you're the solution in a way where they discover you as the solution. Let me explain how this works because it sounds very complicated, but it is so powerful. Probably the most powerful part of this show. In fact, I should say that. Please pay attention here. This is the most powerful part of the show. I want you to imagine having a 1,000-piece puzzle. And in this puzzle, you have all the 1,000 pieces except for one. One piece is missing right in the middle. And you can't find that missing piece for the life of you. And you're searching and searching all around your house because you want to finish this puzzle and you just can't find it. Until one day, you're sleeping on your couch. And as you're sleeping on your couch, your hand kind of goes in between the cushion and you feel it. It's the missing piece to your puzzle. And that piece, just because it was the missing piece, becomes so powerful and so magical that when you put it in there, you're like, oh my God, finally, I found the piece that I was needing this entire time. And there's a feeling that you feel when you find that missing piece. You, as the seducer, will become the missing piece to another person's story. How does this work? The way you become the missing piece to another person's story is by taking their story, understanding the key pivotal points of their story, and then using aspects of yourself and your character, presenting it out to them in the open, and allowing them to discover the fact that you are the solution to their problems. For example, when I talked about earlier, the person who is adventurous, outdoorsy, but also hasn't really been able to connect with anyone on that same level because either people didn't share that same interest or it just wasn't a proper connection. Now, all of a sudden, you can start saying things like, as the conversation is flowing and going, start saying things like, oh, you know what, my girls, they're so boring. They want to go to the club, they want to go to the bar, but I tell them there's so many other things that we can do. We can go here, we can go out, we can camp, we can glamp, we can have some fun, we can try new things other than being at the club or the bar. I love being adventurous, I love being spontaneous, I love going out and doing something brand new, but my girlfriends, they are just so boring. But do you see how now you have just positioned yourself into a place where if I'm an adventurous person, I'm an outdoors going person, I'm someone that loves, being spontaneous and doing things differently. Now, all of a sudden, you've just spoken to my soul. You've just made yourself seem like you are the answer to my problems. Because I've had problems connecting with people who didn't seem to share my same interest as it relates to my love for outdoors and my love for adventure. You've now just made yourself look like you are the person who I've been looking for my entire life. I want you to understand how powerful this is. I told you, this is going to be the most important part of the show. It is so powerful to make someone feel like they discovered you as the solution to their problems because it makes you divine. Okay? What do I mean by that? If you were walking down the sidewalk, and as you're walking down the sidewalk, you saw a $100 bill on the floor, and you're like, oh my God, nobody else picked this bill up? Nobody else saw this right here? And you picked that $100 bill up, it's gonna feel like it was your destiny to find that $100 bill in that place. You're gonna feel like, I left my house at a particular time, I took this particular train or this particular transportation to end up on this sidewalk at this particular time and place, that I was supposed to find this $100 bill sitting on this sidewalk. It was meant for me to discover it. There's power in that arrangement, okay? Because now you feel some divinity to the fact that you are here in this moment discovering that $100 bill. This is why I say you want to be the missing piece of the puzzle to someone else's life, but you want to allow them to discover you, that you in your essence feel divine, that your encounter with that person feels divine. When I come across you through conversation with you, and now I'm meeting you, and in the process of meeting you, I'm feeling like you were meant for me. I'm feeling like you are the answer to my problems. You now become this essence of divinity that I say, I was meant to meet you. You were made for me. I was made for you. You become even more, 1,000 times more seductive. But here's the pro tip, the key element of this. When someone discovers you or begins to talk is, oh, wow, I've been looking for you my entire life. I can't believe I finally met someone as adventurous and as outgoing and outdoorsy as me. You don't acknowledge the fact that you just made yourself the solution to their problems. I want you to make yourself oblivious to the reality that you just presented yourself as the solution to their problems. Why? Because it adds that extra layer of, I discovered you. I came across you. You're the $100 bill on the sidewalk. I walked and I found you on the sidewalk and picked you up. Right? Because when you don't acknowledge it, when you make them feel like, oh, I'm just telling you about who I am, you're the one that discovered that I just happen to be the answer to all your problems. Now, all of a sudden, I don't even realize I'm being seduced. I don't even realize what you're doing because I'm so busy thinking that I am the one who discovered you. For point number 6, we're going to talk about saying their name. I want you to understand one of the most sweetest magical words someone will ever hear you say is their name. Why? Because think about this psychology for a second. Since you were born, since you literally came out of the womb, even while you were in the womb, you were hearing this. You've been grown to understand an association between your name and the fact that that represents, hey, I want your attention. I want you to listen to what I'm about to say. I'm addressing you, okay? This is your title. Every time you've heard that name in your entire life, you've always understood it to mean someone is addressing me. I need to listen to the next things that this person says because they're going to be specifically for me. Understand the psychology that's going on there and how this can be applied to this scenario, okay? So what I want to explain here is over the course of time in any conversation that you have, a lot of times the interest is kind of going to dwindle down over the course of time. So when you first meet someone, yeah, you're having a conversation, but a lot of times, if you're not having conversation in the right way, the interest can kind of wane, and then people are like, oh yeah, we talked about everything we wanted to talk about. So yeah, my friends, I got to meet my friends again. Being able to, in the midst of a conversation, repeatedly say someone's name is such a powerful way to regain their attention. Because remember what I talked about earlier, you've been trained, all of us have been trained from birth to associate my name means I need to pay attention. Someone is addressing me specifically, that's why they're using my name. So think about that. When you're in a conversation and I'm repeatedly using your name over and over again, I'm repeatedly drawing your attention back in to say, hey, this is specifically about you. Hey, this is personal to you. It also creates a lot more intimacy in the relationship, right? Especially when you can start talking to that person and make your conversation feel like it's so directly associated with them. Let me give you an example, right? If I'm saying, oh my gosh, Ashley, you are just something different. I can't believe you. Oh, Jamie, you are a bad girl. I can't believe you. Now, if that's not your name, obviously it doesn't feel as personal to you. But the moment that's your name, you're like, oh, you're talking to me? You're talking to me? But it's the same thing for everyone, right? It starts to feel like, wow, you're really addressing me. You're really talking to me. And when you continuously say someone's name in a conversation, it re-engages them to say, hey, you need to listen up to this. I'm addressing you. This is about you. The same way if I say, hey, Siri, what's going to happen? Siri's going to listen up and say, oh, you're addressing me. So now that you're addressing me, I need to pay attention to what you're about to say because it pertains directly to me, right? This is why names are so magical. It lets someone know I'm addressing you. This is important. So as you continue to do that throughout the conversation and you re-engage them over and over again, that's what allows your seductive energy to grow over the course of time. And for you to be able to hold that person's attention for extended periods of time that has them locked in on every word you're saying. Okay, for number 7, I'm going to talk about talking them out of it. This is going to sound super weird. This is not even going to sound like seduction, but trust me, if it's ever worked on you, then you know that it works. Talking them out of it is kind of reverse psychology to make them and force them to convince themselves how badly they want you. Let me give you an example of how that would work. So for the outdoorsy person that's adventurous, that likes to spend time camping and doing all that other stuff, right? You can now say, when you start to notice that he's interested in you, for example, and you're starting to notice that he really wants to go on a date with you, you can start saying things like, oh, honestly, you don't want to date me because it is like a nightmare to date me. I'm never available. I'm always traveling and I'm never on my phone because, honestly, I just like to be present in my life. And so it's just hard for me to be texting while I'm traveling and I'm doing other stuff. I'm all over the place, always doing something. And it's just like, you'll never be able to get access to me and text me. I'm just super unavailable. I don't even want you to go through that. You see how I just said something that's supposed to be negative, but if I'm adventurous, I'm spontaneous, you actually just kind of spoke to me. You told me I shouldn't date you, but even in the reasons why you told me I shouldn't date you, they're kind of not that bad, especially if I've already been desiring you. The reason I say it's reverse psychology is because it essentially tricks people into convincing themselves why they should be with you, right? Because now, if I'm the adventurous person, if I'm the outgoing person, and you say, I'm rarely ever available, I'm always traveling, I'm always on an adventure, now all of a sudden I'm like, wait. I love adventures too. Why can't we do adventures together? You're unavailable, but trust, I can make you available. I'm gonna make you offers you can't even say no to. So you don't even have to worry. I'm barely even a good texter anyways. Now all of a sudden, they're convincing themselves. They're selling themselves on the idea that they want you so bad and this can work despite the fact that you just told them that this isn't gonna work and that they shouldn't even bother trying to date you. This is why I say it's reverse psychology, but it's so seductive. Because now, see, the trick about seduction is when someone doesn't even feel like they're being seduced, when someone feels like you're not trying, when someone feels like there is no magic trick, they're not looking for anything. That's the magic of seducing someone so well, they don't even realize what's happening to them. Now you have someone who you're seducing, convincing themselves why they want you and why they need and should be with you, right? So I gave some tips here, right? Say something that it sounds negative in nature, but obviously make sure to say it in a way where they can rebuttal and they can say, well, no, that actually does work for me. No, you're not that bad. No, I can deal with that. No, right? Even sometimes people say things like, oh, well, I'm trouble. Oh, I'm going to ruin your life. There's guys that will literally say things like that. Oh, you don't want to date me. I'll ruin your life. And it works because when you feel like, wait, but I already kind of desire you. And wait, you kind of saying you're going to ruin my life makes you kind of dangerous. And I kind of like that, right? That's how that works on people. Okay. And you want to make sure that you emphasize you don't want that. You don't want this. You don't want me. Trust me, you don't want it. Okay? All of a sudden, you're firing off people's mind where they're saying, wait, why are you telling me that I don't want you? But I do want you. You're sexy, you're seductive, you're attractive. Don't tell me I don't want you, I want you. Okay, for point number 8, innuendos. Now I know some of you don't know what an innuendo is. It just means saying something without saying it, okay? Let me explain exactly what I mean by that with an example, okay? I'm gonna give masculine seduction because I don't know how to do this in a feminine seduction way. So let's say we're having a conversation, right? And we're talking at this club or event, right? And we're having this conversation, things are going well, we're being pretty flirtatious with each other. And I say to you, while we're talking about the topic of adventure and going out and, camping and doing all these adventurous things, I look at you and I go, nah, honestly, I don't even think you could keep up with me for real. Like you probably halfway through, you gonna tap out or something like that. Like, tragic. I just don't see you being able to last as long as me. And this is very interesting because I just said something, but I kind of said multiple things. And I kind of said two very different things. See, some of you might have heard that and you might have been like, okay, he's probably talking about the fact that I'm not going to be as adventurous as him. Okay, sure, that makes sense. But some of you heard that and you're like, wait a second, what is he talking? That doesn't sound like he's talking about adventure and camping. It sounds like he's talking about a different type of adventure, the type of adventure that would happen in the bedroom, okay? But this is the magic of innuendos. That's exactly how they work. Because when I say them to you, when you're talking about them, when you're seducing someone, you want them to hear things come out of your mouth and they go, huh, what does that really mean? And I know it sounds kind of weird for me to say, hey, don't be so direct in your communication if you want to seduce people. But I'm saying don't be so direct in your communication if you want to seduce people. Allow some of the things that come out of your mouth to have double meaning. And sometimes they can mean one thing or the other, or they can mean both at the same time. Why this becomes so powerful and becomes so seductive is because now it forces me to think more about every single word you're saying. Because now this statement doesn't just mean one thing, it means two things simultaneously. And I'm trying to figure out, based on the energy you're giving me, based on the reaction you're giving me, based on the way that you're talking and saying it, what is the context of what you're saying and which one is it more likely to be? But this battle that's going to be happening in my head while we're having the conversation puts that much more energy and focus on what conversation we're having. And if you think about it, now all of a sudden, I've dumped even more interest and more focus into me and you. Now I'm even more, as the kids say, locked in on me and you. Because I'm trying to understand, what are you trying to say? You trying to say you like me? You trying to say you're into me? You're trying to say you're attracted to me? You want to sleep with me? Or are you just trying to say that you're adventurous? And this is why it's so amazing, because even when someone calls you out on it, You can always be like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I was trying to say. Even if someone says, wait, are you trying to say that I'm not going to last with you in the bedroom? You're like, oh, no, that's not what I was saying at all. Not even a little bit. But then they're like, no, you're lying. That doesn't seem like you're saying what you're saying. That doesn't make any sense. But this is where people want to be, especially when they're getting seduced. They want to be confused. Confused in the sense that they're always battling with themselves, trying to figure you out. For number 9, we're going to discuss posture, because posture is so important. Now, I'm going to talk about a lot of different things as it relates to posture, okay? Open posture always equals seduction. So you don't want to ever be at a party or an event. And remember how I talked about scanning the room? People are also scanning you to understand what is your body language, what is your level of openness, right? You're never going to be seductive when you're like this, okay? When you're closed off, you're hunched over, you look uncomfortable, that's never going to be seductive, right? So you want to make sure that at all times, if you want to have seductive energy, that you have open body language. You look like you're approachable. You look like you're having a good time. That's part of seduction, because when people see you, you want them to be drawn to you. People can't be drawn to you if you look like this, okay? That's going to look like someone you want to avoid, because it looks like they're going to yell at you, all right? Obviously, closed posture is going to be no seduction. Now, here's one of the key tips that I'm going to give you as it relates to posture that's very important. If you're at a club or a bar or an event, right? A lot of times it's going to feel very awkward if you don't have anything, because I know that not all of you are going to be drinkers or smokers, which I don't expect you to. I don't drink or smoke either. Now, this is very important though. When you go to that place, when you go to that event, that club, that party, that bar, you don't want to be just standing there like a statue. You don't want to look like a soldier on guard, right? And you're just very stiff. That's also going to have the same effect as close posture, because people are going to look at you. You're not going to have that seductive energy that makes you attractive for people to approach you, right? So you want to make sure that you're able to be and look relaxed. The best way to do that is to just grab a drink, okay? You don't have to actually be drinking alcohol. You can just drink water. And if you're drinking water, then you can just have the cup in your hand, and you can look around and you can smile, you can dance, you can have something to do with your hands, at least because you have that drink in your hand, and you can be sipping on your water, right? It's a great way to kind of adjust your posture and force you, because it's a lot harder to have a cup in your hand and be like this, right? You kind of have a forced when you have a cup in your hand to be a little bit more open, to have your shoulders a little bit more relaxed, and then be able to just kind of maneuver. And even if you're standing there, you're kind of standing there in a way where it's like people know that they can approach you. The other important part of posture is finding a spot, because whenever you go out somewhere, obviously there's going to be certain areas that are better or more advantageous than others. What do I mean by that? If you're in a room, let's say you're at a club, right? And you're right on the middle of the dance floor, and around you are a whole bunch of drunk people who are flailing their arms, flailing their legs, stepping on shoes. You're going to kind of be like this. You're kind of going to be on guard. You're going to be very awkward. You're going to kind of make yourself small because you don't want your shoes to get stepped. You're not going to have seductive body language or posture, right? So going to a place and immediately finding a place where you can kind of relax. You can also kind of see what's going on, but you can be in a place where you can dance, you can enjoy yourself. I understand not every person is going to go out and have a booth to themselves or anything like that, but still, when you go out with your friends, you want to be able to find spots that allow you to enjoy yourself in a more relaxed way, where you're not so scrunched up, where you're not forced to kind of have more closed body language, or you start feeling awkward because there's so many people around you that you don't feel like you can relax properly. Number 10, and this one is a very, very, very pro seduction tip. Whenever you're talking to someone that you want to seduce, you want to make sure that they're locked in on you as much as possible. You want to eliminate all of their distractions by making sure that your back is never to the crowd. Because let's think about this psychologically. If I'm trying to seduce you, okay, let's say I'm trying to seduce you and you're looking at me, and behind me is a whole bunch of people standing on tables, flailing their arms, doing the Dougie, dancing, grinding, twerking, spilling drinks. There's a lot of stimulation going on behind me. So no matter how seductive I am, no matter how much eye contact I hold, no matter how amazing I am at conversation, it's always going to be a little bit distracting behind me, which is going to kill some of my abilities to seduce you, right? So you want to always be understanding, like I talked about in finding your spot, even when you're trying trying to seduce someone, make sure to try to angle yourself and find your spot in a place where you can be comfortable, but also you can kind of isolate that person's attention, okay? Now, it's very important, right? So, for example, if you are having your back to the crowd and you're noticing that and you really want to seduce this person, you want to suggest, hey, it's kind of loud here, isn't it? Or, I wish we could talk in a place that's more quiet, more private, or just away from everything that's going on. Just make, obviously, if you're talking to a guy, you don't want to be like, hey, let's go over here. Make the suggestion and then allow that guy to lead you and say, oh yeah, let's go over here, or let's go over here, or let's go in this direction right here, right? And then as you guys are going in that direction, make sure to position yourself in a way where now there's not a lot of distractions behind you, that he can be really locked in on you. And if anyone is facing the crowd, at least it's you, because you're trying to seduce this guy, and you won't be distracted in the process of seducing this guy because you're going to be holding direct eye contact. You're going to be making him feel super important and super special in this conversation. And because he has no stimulus behind you, it makes it that much easier to get him locked right in on you so that you can work your seductive powers.